The air was thick with smoke and strange smells. Neon lights flashed in red and green. Loud voices echoed in every direction. This was Zargoth Space Station, known for its black markets. Here, anything could be bought. Even people died in the middle of the station. A crowd gathered. Creatures from across the galaxy stood around a metal stage. Some laughed. Others shouted prices. On the stage stood 5 alien girls, thin, scared, and chained. A large alien, with red skin and sharp teeth, raised his hand. Next, fresh girls from planet Vera, strong, young, and healthy. Who will bid first? The alien girls looked around. With hopeless eyes, no one would save them. This was the way of the galaxy. The strong took what they wanted. The weak were sold. Suddenly, the crowd went quiet. An old human man walked into the market. His back was slightly bent, and he wore a brown coat and dusty boots. His face had deep lines, and his white beard was long. He looked like someone who belonged in a storybook, not a slave auction. Is that a human? Someone whispered, "What is he doing here? He'll be killed." Another laughed. The old man didn't speak. He walked forward, slowly but with purpose. His name was Captain Ron, once a hero of the Galactic War, now forgotten. He looked up at the stage. The girls stared at him, confused. 100,000 credits, Ron said in a calm voice. The crowd gasped. 100,000? For all 5? The auctioneer asked. Ron nodded. Yes, all of them. A tall insect-like alien pushed forward. 200,000. I'll take the blue one. Ron didn't blink. 300,000. Another shouted. 350. Ron raised his hand. 500,000. Credits, final offer. The market went silent. The auctioneer smiled. Sold. To the brave old human. Some aliens laughed. Others were angry. A human buying slaves? This is a joke. Ron showed a small chip. It confirmed the payment. The auctioneer handed him the control key to the girls' chains. Ron walked to the stage. The girls stepped back, afraid. He looked at them kindly. Don't worry, I'm not here to hurt you. He pressed the key. Their chains unlocked. One by one, the metal fell to the floor. What are you doing? One girl whispered. Her skin was silver, her eyes bright gold. I'm setting you free, Ron said. You're not slaves anymore. The girls didn't move. They didn't understand. Freedom was a word they'd only heard in stories. Suddenly, a loud alarm rang. Warning. Human entered restricted zone, the voice said. 5 alien guards ran toward the stage. That human is not allowed here. Arrest him. The crowd stepped back. Some laughed. Others watched in silence. Ron turned to the girls. Run! Get to Dock 7. My ship is there, the Firebird. I'll catch up. The silver-skinned girl shook her head. We won't leave you. A guard raised his weapon. Stop right there. Before he could fire, a purple-skinned girl jumped forward. She grabbed the metal pole and hit the guard hard. He dropped to the floor. Chaos began. One girl threw a flash grenade she had hidden in her clothes. Light exploded across the market. The fee. Crowd screamed and scattered. Ron smiled. Maybe you girls don't need saving after all. They ran through the back doors of the market, through narrow halls and dark tunnels. As they reached the ship dock, more guards appeared. Zari, the silver-skinned girl, looked at Ron. Do you still want to help us? Ron nodded. Always. He pressed a button on his wrist. The Firebird's ramp lowered. Get in now. Blaster shots flew past them. One hit the wall beside Ron's head. The girls ran up the ramp. Ron followed and pressed the launch button. The Firebird lifted off just as the guards reached the platform. They fired, but it was too late. Inside the ship, everyone was quiet. Zari looked at Ron. Why would a human save us? Ron leaned back in the pilot's seat. Because I was once a soldier. I've seen too much pain. I promised myself, if I ever had the chance to do something right, I would. The youngest girl, with green skin and big blue eyes, asked softly, "Are we really free now?" Ron looked at her kindly. "Yes, but we have to keep moving. They'll come after us." Outside the window, stars flew past as the ship entered. Light speed. The girls looked at each other confused, scared, but hopeful. They didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time in their lives, they were free. The Firebird flew fast through deep space, away from Zargoth Station. Inside the ship, silence filled the air. The alien girls sat close together. Their eyes watched everything, the strange buttons, the metal walls, and the quiet. Man who had saved them, Captain Ron, didn't say much. He kept his eyes on the stars. His hands moved over the controls like they had done it 1,000 times, and they had. The old human was no stranger to flying through danger. Zari, the silver-skinned girl, finally broke the silence. "Why did you save us?" Ron didn't look back. "Because no one else would. Nora, the strong purple one, didn't trust him yet. You could have sold us to someone richer, made more money." "I didn't buy you to keep you," Ron said. "I bought you to give you back your life." The youngest girl, Luma, smiled for the first time. She was small, with green skin and soft blue eyes. She whispered, "Thank you." But just as the mood softened, red lights flashed on the ship's dashboard. Ron's smile faded. He pressed a button. "We have a problem. What is it?" Zari asked, her voice tense. "They found us. Someone put a tracker on one of you." The girls froze. Luma looked down at her neck. I think there's something under my skin." Ron's eyes narrowed. "We need to remove it, now." He stood up and opened a small metal cabinet. Inside were tools, medical equipment, and a small device that scanned for tech implants. Luma trembled as Ron scanned her neck. A quiet beep confirmed it. There was a tracker just under the skin near her collarbone. "If we don't take it out," Ron said, "they'll be on us in less than an hour." "Can you remove it?" Nora asked. "I can try," he replied. "But I'll need help. Hold her still." They placed Luma on the table. Ron worked quickly but gently. Zari held Luma's hand. Nora stood close, watching every move. Luma winced. But she didn't cry. She was braver than she looked. After a few tense minutes, Ron pulled out a tiny black chip. "Got it." He crushed it under his boot. "Now let's move." But it was too late. An alarm rang through the ship. A large bounty hunter ship had locked onto them. The screen showed a skull symbol, a gang known for never missing a target. Zari's voice was cold. "We fight or we die." Ron shook his head. "No weapon strong enough. We're outgunned." But Nora was already moving. She pressed her hand to a panel. Strange purple energy sparked from her fingers. "What are you doing?" Ron asked. Nora's voice was calm. "My kind, we were bred for war." The ship's systems glowed with alien light. Nora's body connected to the ship's power, and for a moment, the Firebird felt alive. Zari joined her. "I know old Virian code. Let me help." The two girls worked together. Lights blinked, engines roared louder, and a hidden turret rose from the ship's top. Ron was shocked. Where did this weapon come from? "It was hidden," Zari said. "The Firebird has secrets too." The bounty hunter ship fired first, missing by inches. Ron took control of the flight. "You handle the weapons. I'll fly us out." Luma sat up, still weak but smiling. "We're not running. We're fighting." The Firebird turned sharply. Blasts of plasma lit up the dark. The turret fired back, hitting the hunter ship's engine. More blasts came. Nora aimed carefully, her hands glowing brighter. She struck again. The enemy ship caught fire, spinning. Out of control. Ron pulled the Firebird upward, and they escaped just before the ship exploded behind them. Breathless, everyone looked at each other. Ron smiled. "You girls are full of surprises." Zari looked proud. "So are you." Luma sat beside Ron. Where do we go now? Ron thought for a moment. Then he spoke softly. Somewhere safe. Somewhere they'll never find you. Nora raised an eyebrow. Does such a place exist? Ron turned back to the controls. I hope so. As the stars passed them by, none of them spoke. But something had changed. They were no longer strangers. They were something more. And somewhere deep inside the galaxy, others had seen the explosion. And they were coming. The stars looked calm, but danger was coming fast. Captain Ron leaned back in the pilot's chair, trying to breathe. His ship, the Firebird, was running low on energy. The lights flickered. A sharp warning buzz echoed from the control panel. We can't keep running, he muttered. Behind him, the alien girls sat quietly. They had just fought off a bounty hunter. They had just tasted freedom. But peace never lasts long in space. Then it happened. A sharp beat broke the silence. Zari rushed forward and looked at the screen. Another ship. No ID code. It's following us. Ron's face hardened. They're not here to talk. The Firebird was wounded. One engine burned in the last fight. It was too slow to run again. Ron stared at the screen. Time to impact. 5 minutes. Nora stood tall. Let's fight again. We beat the last one. Ron shook his head. We got lucky last time. This is worse. Bigger ship. Better weapons. Luma, still weak from the tracker removal, whispered. What do we do now? Ron thought fast. We need to hide. There's nowhere to hide in space. Zari said, but she was wrong. Ron pulled out a small map disk from his coat and placed it on the panel. A glowing star chart appeared. There, he said, pointing at a red dot. Planet Cora 7, unmarked, not on modern charts. Zari frowned. That planet is dead, abandoned for 200 years. Ron looked at her. Exactly. That's why no one will look for us there. With a sudden burst, he turned the Firebird toward the dead world. Behind them, the enemy ship fired. The Firebird shook. Sparks flew. One more hit and the ship would break. Hold on, Ron shouted. This is going to get rough. The Firebird dove toward the dark planet. The sky burned around them as they entered the atmosphere. Luma covered her ears. Nora held the walls. Zari gripped the chair tightly. They hit the ground hard. The ship slid across the dusty land, breaking trees and rocks. Finally, it stopped. No one moved. Then Ron's voice came through the silence. Everyone okay? I think so, Zari said, her voice shaking. The door opened. Dry wind rushed in. Dust flew into the cabin. They stepped outside together. The planet was gray and quiet. No birds, no animals. Just dry trees, broken buildings, and empty skies. It's like a graveyard, Luma whispered. But Ron looked calm. Sometimes the quiet places are the safest. They made camp near a half-buried building. Zari found old tools inside. Nora repaired the broken ship parts. Luma explored nearby, always staying close. That night, as stars filled the sky, Ron sat alone by a small fire. His eyes were tired. His hands held an old photo, a picture of him and a woman. Smiling, laughing, long gone, Zari saw him. She sat beside him. She was important? Ron nodded. She was everything. Zari looked at the fire. You miss her. Every day, he said. Zari didn't speak. After a moment, she gently touched his shoulder. You saved us. Maybe. It's okay to let someone care about you too. Before he could reply, the ground trembled. A low rumble came from deep underground. Nora ran out of the ship. Something's moving beneath us. The fire died. The lights flickered. Suddenly, a metal door opened in the ground near the trees. Dust shot up like smoke. From the hole, a strange figure rose tall, silver, glowing with blue light. Luma screamed. What is that? Zari stepped forward. That's Virion tech. From the old times. The glowing figure didn't attack. It just stood still, Scanning them. Ron reached for his blaster. Zari held his hand. Wait, I think it's trying to speak. A voice echoed, not in sound, but inside their heads. Foreign life forms detected. Mission unknown. Identify purpose. Zari took a step forward. We are refugees. We seek safety. The figure paused. Then its light turned green. Safe zone activated. A circle of light appeared around them. Invisible to the eye, but powerful. No ship could see or scan through it. Ron blinked. We're hidden. The figure slowly faded into the ground. Again, the door closing behind it. Everyone stared at the spot. Nora crossed her arms. What just happened? Zari smiled for the first time in days. The planet is not dead. It was sleeping. Luma whispered, it's watching over us. Ron looked at the sky. And now we might have a real chance. But far above, in space, the ship that chased them stopped. A large alien in armor stared at the empty screen. Where did they go? His assistant asked. The captain growled. Find them. I want the human alive. And the girls brought back. His eyes glowed red. The hunt was far from over. Asterisk. The night didn't feel normal. There was no wind, no sound, just heavy silence. Even the stars above seemed too still. Ron stood outside the Firebird, staring at the dry trees. His hands rested on his old blaster, but he didn't feel safe. The hidden tech on this planet protected them, but for how long? Behind him, the alien girls were inside the ship. Zari was working on the comms panel. Nora sharpened a metal rod. Like a blade. Luma watched old Earth cartoons on a dusty screen, laughing softly. But Ron didn't laugh. His gut told him something was wrong. He lit a small fire. It crackled softly in the silence. That's when he heard it, a voice that wasn't there. Go back, it whispered. He turned. Nothing behind him. No footsteps. No breeze. Just the cold ground. Zar. I appeared at the door. Captain? You look pale. I heard something, he said. A voice. She walked closer. This planet has old energy. Virion tech connects to thoughts. Maybe it's just, no, he said, cutting her off. This wasn't the planet. It felt human. Before she could reply, Nora shouted. From inside, Zari, something's happening to the screen. They rushed in. The main monitor, which had been broken since the crash, now showed a flickering image. A forest. Not this world, but a different one. A memory? Luma's eyes widened. That's my home planet. The screen changed. Another image. Zari's old school. Then Nora's prison cell. One by one, the ship showed their pasts. Ron stepped back. This planet is reading your minds. Zari turned slowly. No, it's showing us what we lost. Luma touched the screen. Her hands shook. Why would it do that? Nora looked serious. Because it wants something. Outside, a sound began, faint at first. A hum, like old machines waking up. Lights rose from under the ground, glowing paths. One led into the forest. Ron grabbed his coat. We follow it. Zari hesitated. Are you sure? No, he said. But if this planet chose to hide us, maybe it has a reason. They followed the lights into the trees. The path was narrow, winding between broken stones and metal roots. The air smelled of rust and ash. After a long walk, they reached it. Door, ancient and round, built into the side of a stone hill. Symbols glowed on its surface. Nora stepped forward. The door opened. Inside, the room was large, round, and glowing with soft blue light. In the center stood a machine, half alive, half metal. A voice filled the space. You are survivors, it said. You carry pain. You seek peace. Ron looked around. What are you? The voice answered. A memory of the old world. Guardian, I protect what is lost. Zari stepped forward. Why did you bring us here? To offer a gift, the voice said. Knowledge or power. but only one. Everyone went silent. Luma looked at Ron. Which one do we choose? Ron looked around. The girls were tired, hurt, hunted. They needed hope, knowledge, he said. Teach us how to stay free. The machine hummed. A circle opened in the floor. From it, a small glowing orb floated up. It stopped in front of Ron. Then it broke into 5 lights, one for each of them. The lights entered their chests. No pain. Just warmth, a memory, an idea. A way forward. Zar, I gasped. I know how to upgrade the ship. How to shield it from. Scans. Nora's eyes lit up. I can build new weapons. Luma smiled. I saw plants, medicine, healing roots. Ron said nothing. But deep inside, he felt something too, a map. A hidden route through the galaxy. One that no hunter could follow. They returned to the ship. The Firebird, though damaged, now felt different. The girls worked quickly, rebuilding, reshaping, reprogramming. By morning, the ship looked stronger, faster, smarter. They were ready to fly again, but before they left, Ron stood on the dry ground one last time. Thank you, he said to the silent planet. There was no answer, but he felt it. The planet was watching and protecting. High above, beyond the stars, the armored alien captain slammed his fist on the control screen. They disappeared again, his officer said, like ghosts. The captain's voice was sharp, cold, final. Next time we won't chase them. He turned toward a wall screen showing the human face. We'll make them come to us. The Firebird floated in the black sky, silent like a ghost. No radar could see it now. No signal could track it. The ship had changed, just like its crew. Inside, the air felt strange. Not heavy, not light. Just different. Captain Ron sat alone. In the control room. The stars outside looked like distant memories. His fingers touched the edge of an old photo he kept in his pocket. A woman smiled in it. His wife, long gone. Behind him, soft footsteps. Zari. She didn't speak. Just stood near him, watching the stars too. Finally she said, "Why do you still carry that picture?" Ron didn't answer right away. Then, "Because I never said goodbye." Zari sat beside him. "Do you miss her every day?" Ron nodded. "I lost people too," Zari said. "But I never got to love them like you did." He looked at her. There was sadness in her gold eyes, but something else too. Curiosity, warmth. In the engine room, Nora and Luma worked quietly. Luma had dirt on her cheeks from planting new roots in small glass domes. She smiled while working, something she never did before. Nora didn't smile, but she watched Luma like an older sister. Protective. Always alert. The ship was quiet, but no one felt safe. That night, they sat together for dinner. A small table, metal plates, soft lights. Real food grown from Luma's plants. It wasn't much, but it tasted better than anything Ron had eaten in years. They laughed for a moment. A real laugh. No one knew who started it. Then the ship shook. Everyone jumped. Alarms didn't go off. There was no signal, no warning. Just a feeling cold and sharp, like fear before lightning. Ron stood quickly. Something's here. Zari checked the systems. Nothing on radar. Nora opened the gun cabinet. I'll check the lower deck. Luma's smile faded. Outside the window, space looked normal. But something was hiding, watching, waiting. Then a voice came. Not from the ship. Not from any speaker, but from inside their minds. Return the girls, or Earth will burn. Luma dropped her cup. It shattered. She fell to her knees, shaking. Ron rushed to her. What is it? She whispered. I know that voice. He was the one who bought my sister. Zari's face turned cold. The slaver king. Nora clenched her fists. He's found us. The lights flickered. Then a new image appeared on the main screen. Not a message. A live feed. It showed Earth. Peaceful. Bright. Blue. Then it zoomed in on a city. Buildings, parks, children playing. Ron's eyes went wide. How does he have this? Zari's voice shook. He wants us to be afraid. He wants you to give us back. Luma looked up. Will you? The room went quiet. Ron looked at each of them. Zari the mind. Nora the shield. Luma the heart. He stood slowly. No, Nora asked. Then what do we do? Ron's voice was low, steady. We go to him first. They stared at him. You mean, attack? Zari asked. Ron nodded. He thinks we're weak. He thinks I'm just an old man. Let's prove him wrong. Luma wiped her tears. But how? His ship is big, powerful. Ron opened the map. The planet he's hiding on. I've been there before, long ago, during the war. I know its tunnels, its secrets. Nora smiled. A sneak attack. Zari looked at him. You're serious? He looked her in the eyes. You were slaves, now you're soldiers. Let's show him what freedom really means. The Firebird turned in the stars, its new engines humming like a storm in chains. They were no longer running. They were heading into danger, straight toward the man who had hurt them, and countless others. But this time, they weren't alone. They had each other, and they had a plan. Far across the galaxy, the Slaver King smiled in his throne of bones. He didn't know yet. They were coming. Asterisk, the sky above Corval Prime was black, filled with thunder that wasn't natural. Lightning cracked in the clouds. But there was no rain. At the edge of the atmosphere, a ship appeared. Small, silent, almost invisible. The Firebird had arrived. Inside, no one was speaking. Not even Luma. Her hand shook slightly as she held a glowing stone, a gift from the hidden planet. It calmed her, but not enough to erase the fear. Zari was at the controls, eyes fixed forward. She wasn't breathing heavily, but her hands were tight on the wheel. Ron stood behind her, armor half-strapped to his body, holding a pulse rifle. That looked older than most of the galaxy. Nora paced like a caged animal. When we land, she said, no one runs. Ron nodded. We stick together, always. They landed in an old mining zone, abandoned, quiet, just outside the Slaver King's fortress. The plan was simple. Sneak in through the tunnels beneath the main tower, plant charges on the power grid, and get out. But plans never go as expected. The tunnels were cold, wet, and alive with sound. Machines hummed deep in the walls. Drones buzzed past like blind flies. They moved quietly, staying in the dark. Then came the voice. I see you. Zari froze. He knows we're here. Ron whispered, keep going. They moved faster. Then came the first attack. A wall behind them exploded. Metal guards poured in, half alive, half robot, carrying plasma chains. Nora didn't wait. She ran straight into the fight. She moved like lightning, punching, dodging, tearing through them like a living blade. Zari used her knowledge to shut down lights and block sensors. Ron fought with steady aim. Every shot counted. Luma. She just stood back until one guard broke through. It raised its weapon to fire. And something inside Luma snapped. Her eyes glowed. The stone in her hand lit up. The guard froze, then crumbled into dust. Everyone stopped. Luma looked at her hands. I didn't know I could do that. Ron smiled. We all have things inside us. You just found yours. They moved on, reaching. The power grid took longer than planned. Ron placed the charges with care. We only get one shot at this, he said. Once it blows, we run. But before they could leave, a voice echoed through the tunnel. Not a message, a scream. Zari. She turned. Her face went pale. That's my sister's voice. She ran. No one could stop her. Ron followed. They entered a side room, dimly lit by red lights. Inside, cages. Dozens of them. And in one, Zari's sister, barely alive, bruised but breathing. Zari fell to her knees. I found you. Behind them, Metal doors slammed shut. The Slaver King stepped out from the shadows, tall, inhuman, covered in dark armor and ancient markings. "You always come back for the ones you love," he said. Ron raised his rifle. "Let her go." The king laughed. "You think you can kill me, old man?" Ron stepped forward. "No, but we can finish what we started." Nora came through the vent behind them, silent, deadly. She threw a small orb. Flash. Light exploded. Chaos. Zia. Ri grabbed her sister. Luma used her strange energy to throw guards back. Ron fought hand-to-hand with the king himself, punches, blocks. Pain. Then came the sound they were waiting for. Boom. The charges exploded. Power across the fortress failed. Lights died. Shields dropped. Alarms screamed. The Firebird, waiting above, auto-launched and flew toward the tower. Nora broke through the window with a grappling rope. "Time to go." Zari, holding her sister, jumped. Ron grabbed Luma and followed. The king roared behind them, blinded and burning. The ship caught them mid-fall. They flew away as the tower cracked and collapsed. Inside, everyone gasped for air. No one smiled yet. Ron looked at Zari. "Is she okay?" Zari nodded. "She's alive." Nora checked Luma. "Your nose is bleeding." Luma wiped it. "I'm okay, just tired." Ron sank into the chair. "I thought we'd lose." Zari looked at him. "But we didn't." Far behind them, the fortress was burning. But the war wasn't over. The Slaver King had survived, and now he was angry. The Firebird floated above a new world. Green, soft, and quiet. No warships, no prisons, no slavers. Just sky and wind. And peace. But inside the ship, peace was harder to find. Captain Ron sat at the small table in the common room. The tea in his hand had gone cold, untouched. Across from him sat Zari. Her sister slept safely in the back, still healing. Will he come again? She asked. Ron didn't answer right away. "Yes," he said finally. "He won't stop." Nora stood near the door, sharpening a blade. Luma watered her plants in the corner. Even in silence, something had changed. They weren't just survivors anymore. They were something more. The ship beeped once. A signal. Not a threat. A message. Zari pressed the button. A face appeared on screen. A human woman, uniform, military. "Captain Ron," she said. "This is Commander Holly of Earth Council. You are under investigation for illegal actions involving alien refugees. You are ordered to return to Earth immediately." Everyone froze. Ron stood slowly. "I understand," he said. "But I won't give them back." "You misunderstand," Holly replied. "We want them to speak." A pause. "What?" Nora asked. Holly continued. "The whole galaxy saw what you did. The recordings from Corval Prime went public. The King's crimes, your rescue, the slave markets. People are angry. Some want justice. Some want war. But they want to hear the story from you." Ron looked at the others. "What do you want to do?" Luma held his hand. "We go together." The Firebird turned. For the first time, they were not running. They were going home. When they landed on Earth, crowds were waiting. Not with weapons, but with open hands. People cheered. Cameras flashed. News screens called Ron a hero. They called the girls survivors, warriors, symbols of change. But not everyone was happy. In a silver building, a court was waiting. Ron stood before a panel of judges. Gray uniforms, cold eyes. "You broke galactic laws," one said. "You stole from registered markets. You attacked a sovereign ruler. You used violence." Ron didn't blink. "I saved lives," he said. "Why?" Another judge asked. Ron looked at the crowd behind the glass wall. The girls sat there, watching. Zari, Nora, strong, calm, free. Because no one else would. The room went silent. Then Zari stood. She pressed a button. A hologram played. Images of cages, whips, chains, the slaver king. The girls bruised. Faces, their escape, the battle, the power grid. The fall of the fortress. The judges watched. The public watched. One judge looked up. What do you ask from us? Zari stepped forward. We ask for a future, a place where no one is sold. Number 1 is hunted. A place where people like him, people like Ron, are not punished for doing what's right. The judges whispered. Then the lead judge said, "You are free to go." Cheers erupted. Outside, the sky was soft and blue. Ron stepped out into the sunlight, the girls by his side. Months passed. A new colony began on the same peaceful planet where they had once hidden. A place for survivors. A place for peace. A place for those with nowhere else to go. They called it Haven. One day, under the silver trees, Luma picked flowers. Nora taught local children how to fight. Only if you must, she said. Zar, I worked on building new shields for the colony. And Ron? He stood at a small altar, dressed in old formal clothes. His hair combed. His eyes calm. 3 brides stood with him. Zar, Nora, Luma. Each one had chosen him, not because he saved them, but because he saw them. As people. As warriors. As equals. The wind carried petals through the air. A new chapter began, and far away, in the shadows of space, the slaver king sat on his broken throne. Watching. Waiting. But this time, they were ready.